And we are live right now. We're a little earlier today with GLC, none other than Avi Lipkin, live from Israel. Avi, tell me how you're doing, sir.
With GLC, everything is possible.
You've got that right, my man. GLC is the last bastion of American freedom. Of course, the freedom of speech is still alive and well with GLC. We say what you're thinking, folks, and bringing to you what you need to know. Avi, regardless of what the lamestream media has to say, what do you have to say right there in Israel?
Well, I have to tell you, sometimes I get information from the United States directly, and not just here in the Middle East, but I received yesterday, I got it from my wife, Ted Cruz interrogating Blinken.
Right.
Destroyed him. I don't know if you saw it, but it was very good. I mean,
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. I'm always happy to see when these players are confronted, but nothing ever seems to happen, Avi. Do you think it's going to be different this time?
I don't think anything's really going to change until the elections, but you never know. I mean, there are all kinds of rumors. Temporary president, Democrats are defecting, end of the world, and nothing, so I don't know. I remember when Trump complained in 2020 about the stolen elections.
Right.
And I said, wow, now we're going to see a coup d'etat and overthrow this corrupt Democrat Party. And nothing happened. And you know why nothing happened? Because the Democrat presidents preceding Biden had purged the military of all the right-wing and conservative and patriotic generals,
right,
and brought in left-wing generals. So Trump really had nobody on whom to rely. And maybe it's better this way. There was no civil war. But I think in the end, you know what they talk about in Israel? That somebody in America is going to kill Trump. I mean, that's the conspiracy theory we're following now here in Israel.
Well, there is quite the body count, some would say, following specific Democrat leaders. And of course, it's debatable if they're going to allow themselves to be voted out. Obama not only fired patriotic generals, he actually put in Muslim generals. Did you know that, folks? Did you know that the name of Jesus wasn't even allowed to be mentioned in the White House for a period of 14 years until Samuel Rodriguez, a pastor who some had prophesied would pray for the president at a young age, did that for President Trump. And so there's a lot that people don't know. It seems like the latest shiny toy is enough to sway your average voting age person. I don't know. I have no faith in the leadership that we are, if you call it that we're experiencing right now. And I want to have faith in evangelical voters, though 34 million did not even vote in the last election. So my hope is, there's going to be a change no matter what. I know that they would like to try to push Kamala through, hoping that the same people who drive with the mask on inside the car will vote for the newest shiny toy, even though she has a hard time putting together a complete sentence. So nonetheless,
what about Michael?
Well, I've always suspected that. Obama has been heard talking about a stand-in president until he could come back. And of course, we are in his third term. There's no doubt about that. The person that is calling himself Biden, you can read what you want to into that statement, but he has no more idea of what's going on. He's either a very, very good actor, or it's the worst case of senior abuse I've ever seen. Nonetheless, you're working with a soulless, heartless, child targeting, anti-family communist operation, and very successfully organizing plenty of sheep and importing the others. The socialists and communists have to import their voters to get votes anymore, it seems like. Who knows what's going to happen? But I can tell you this, there will be a change. There is
They're
an
unwilling.
undercurrent right now with this youngest generation. They are rebelling against the pride flag, against the minor attracted pedophile flag. This trying to be propagated on school campuses. People don't know about that either. I think they're so wrapped up in TikTok and all the distractions, the circus and the bread of the day in the new Roman Empire. But I do have faith that a change is a coming, and that seems to be for sure. But I haven't heard the latest thing about Trump. It doesn't surprise me, though, that there are those who think that his life is in danger. I personally think they need to worry more about his son, who has seen from the inside out the evil that has prevailed in this country and the unjust kangaroo court system against Trump. So I don't know, man. If you ever see Barron want to run for president, folks, you can be sure that there may be some prophecies coming true.
Yeah. The problem with Barron is these Democrats are going to find something on him that he stole $20 million, from some scheme or something. They'll find something.
Well,
If you,
the Bible says, to the pure, all things are pure, to the bitter, all things are bitter. In a culture where all it takes is an accusation, I'm sure they'll accuse him of something. You don't have to be guilty of a crime if you're against the Democrats. Democrats don't go to jail, Avi. Don't you know that?
by the way, same in Israel. The left wing people, the left wing generals are guilty of treason. And you know what? I have some breaking news for you. I don't know if you heard this. This is also from the United States. Did you ever hear of a general retired called Vinny? He's on Fox News every so often, General Vinny. And
I, I, I don't.
he said that the U.S. government agreed to let Hamas have 7 hours to do whatever they wanted to do, and that their attack on Israel should only be 7 hours. Now, in Israel, all the generals are left wing, and they turned all the telephones off. Netanyahu did not have a clue about anything because they kept the secrets from Netanyahu. But there was a 7-hour hiatus in which even the girls who were, watching the borders and listening and, watching the TV screens, and they could see the Hamas soldiers infiltrating. And they were calling the generals, and the generals told them they would be court-martialed if they kept bothering. So I have no doubt that the Israeli generals all wanted to overthrow Netanyahu, and that this 7-hour attack on Israel by Hamas, which became a massive invasion, was just an excuse to overthrow Netanyahu at the orders of Washington, D.C.
Well, it would not surprise me. Obama is a champion of the Muslim Brotherhood.
No, we're not talking about, I think we're not talking about Obama. We're talking about Biden. I mean, they're all in cahoots.
I'm actually purposely talking about Obama. Biden is no more in charge than the ice cream man. No pun intended. That's all he seems to be able to do is eat ice cream. No, Obama's pulling the strings, and those above him are. And that doesn't surprise me. Early on with the Hamas attack, I've heard it said many times, you don't just sneak up on Israel. It's impossible, is what I've heard from the very start. So it would not surprise me if there was coordination. Imagine a government coordinating an attack from the inside for political reasons. Wow. Would that be the first time? I don't
Well,
think.
you remember that I did a show with Zola Levitt Ministries, and it was a very good show.
Right.
And then afterwards, there were, I got inside information that the globalists shut it down. And there was some kind of a so-called messianic leader in Israel who threatened to sue Zola Levitt. You remember, I told you about
Yeah.
this.
Oh, I remember it well. Isn't
This
it
is
nice
all this
not
is
to be
all
for
part of
sale?
an attempted coup d'état against Netanyahu.
And it backfired, didn't it?
Yep. You know
Just
what? I'll
like,
tell you something.
yeah.
It united the Jews in Israel. It's like what you were saying at the beginning of the show. Something is going to happen in America too, and the American people will come out stronger and more united. against this horrible, horrible government, this horrible political situation, just as in Israel. I would say I'm very, convinced that 70% of the Israelis oppose the socialist generals and the globalist agenda, and the people totally support Netanyahu.
Well, it sounds like Iran. Do you think the people of Iran are agreeing with their Ayatollah? Same story. How many governments out there are people that just want to be left alone? How many people out there, I should say, nations, that they just want to live life, support their families, and be left alone? But their leadership has been infiltrated by the socialists, the communists, the Luciferians, I will say that, and the globalists. People want to kill you, poison your food, poison your water, sell you ineffective cancer treatments and tax you when you die. At some point, there will be a global revolution. I know there's been a lot of suppression, hundreds of thousands protesting in Belgium when they were putting up the 5G towers, nothing more than a tracker tower, the largest modern construction project ever achieved, while we were told to stay inside all around the globe. And yet, here we are, folks. So, it's going to take people to doing more than sharing TikTok videos, sharing Facebook videos and memes. They're going to have to actually do something. And I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take. Is it going to take a knock on your door at 3:00 for you to get proactive and defensive for your family, folks? I don't know. I really don't know anymore. But I know that the Bible is true. I know that the God of Israel is in control. I still believe that Israel has the ability to wipe out her enemies in a day. I still believe that. And some mornings, including this morning, I'm wondering why they haven't. And so it is only by the grace of God, and it is only by the restraint of Israel that these monkey nations exist, in my opinion.
No, I have to tell you, President Biden was saying to Israel, don't. That's the word and word in his lexicon, don't. But right. He says it to Israel. Don't attack Rafah, on the border with Egypt. And they revealed in the news in Israel, well, I watch Channel 14. That's the nationalist news. 11, 12, 13 are socialists. There are 50 terrorist tunnels under the border from Gaza into Egypt.
Right.
And through these tunnels, the Egyptians are helping to smuggle in weaponries and missiles and computers and all kinds of things which otherwise we could not get into Gaza. And so now the Israelis have taken over at least half of the Philadelphia patrol road, which is the border with Egypt. And I think we're going to hear very soon some very, very interesting information about Philadelphia Road and about the 50 tunnels, if not more, and what America has done together with Egypt to stab Israel in the back. And then say, oh, we're giving you all these weaponries. Just let your boys die in battle fighting the Palestinians, but we'll give you more weapons if you do what we tell you to do. And meanwhile, Israel is flushed down the toilet by Washington, D.C., and by the communist generals who work with them.
Well, I'm reminded of a biblical story in the book of Judges about Jehu. There was no negotiating with Jehu. Enough was enough. He wasn't going to negotiate with Ahab. He wasn't going to negotiate with Jezebel. Enough blood had been spilt. I'm curious what would have happened had the servants not thrown Jezebel down. And I believe that America may be faced with the same situation. At some point or another, citizens, you better take action or somebody else will. And I know that's a strong statement, but I know the God that I serve, and we share that God, my friend. And I am amazed every day that I wake up to a country that has not been destroyed, at least physically. It's been destroyed from the inside out. And again, I'm amazed at the willful ignorance that we are displaying, just like Germany, just like the other nations too. But the loudest voices don't represent the majority. That's why GLC stands alone. You're not going to hear us talk this way, or you'll hear us talk this way anywhere, but you're not going to hear this kind of talk on other Christian networks. Not necessarily. You'll hear it on GLC. You'll probably hear it on Taken TV. But folks, we're it. That's why you need to support GLC, glc.tv or glc.us.com. You also need to get behind Avi Lipkin, biblicalalliance.com, biblicalalliance.com. Who else is going to bring you the truth? Avi's not for sale. I'm not for sale. And, so it's very important. We know what needs to be done. I'm just putting more information, more energy into doing it. I've given up on the sheep, Avi, and I'm doing everything that I can. But, just like it was said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. We need people to proclaim that in their businesses. Americans still have voting power. They still have buying power. And you cannot call yourself a believer in God and support those who are predators to children and are attacking the freedoms that we have. You just can't. I don't know how you reconcile that. I don't know how pastors, there are good, true pastors that I know. But there's a lot of them with mega churches that there's just too much to lose if they actually tell the people what they need to know and how they need to take action. There's even associations within our administration of pastors that are paid to be the ones to comfort the people when it's time to go to FEMA camps. Did you know that, folks? I bet you didn't. So all that to say is it's not a conspiracy theory anymore when it becomes headline news just a few days later, but here we are. Avi, I always ask you what we can do. I know we can pray. I know we can support those who support Israel, but we can't turn the tide of reaping and sowing. And Americans, for the sake of their own survival, need to speak up and act up and call and say no to tyranny. Saw a meme the other day, Avi, that says the tyranny is made possible with compliance. You can't comply with tyranny and then complain of tyranny. You have to oppose it, So I don't know. I mean, are the mainstream people, not the media, not the socialist bought and paid for, Muslim owned, globalist collaborated media, but the people of Israel, are they feeling the same? Is there not an undercurrent of a desire to see a change in Israel by the main people?
Well, as I said before, 70% of the Israeli population is pro right wing, and the percentage is growing because the religious and nationalist Jewish population is having the children. The socialists, either they don't get married at all, or they have maybe one child and one dog in the family. And so if you go to the Knesset internet site and look at the 25 elections since 1949, you see that the communists and the socialists had full control of the country. And with every election, they are weaker and weaker and weaker. And so they are trying now, with the help of Washington, D.C., and the corrupt left-wing, Democrat generals and politicians, to overthrow the 70%, which is right-wing and religious. And it's not going to happen. So that's one of the reasons why Netanyahu is really untouchable. I really pray for Netanyahu that they don't kill him too. So because the socialists have a very good record of killing people. So, we'll have to see what happens. I couldn't get a job in Israel for 55 years because I was a right winger.
Well, it's quite a wonder to behold, always seems to backfire on these leftists. I mean,
God
my gosh.
Always uses everything for good.
I was about to say, it's like Job said, what the enemy meant for evil, God used for good.
Amen.
And, the people that are experiencing 300% increases in cancer, some would estimate 800% increases in heart disease and heart attacks due to this experimental mRNA jab were not the conservatives, but the very people who were foolish enough to support the socialists. I mean, they're killing themselves off. And those who were brave enough to make a stand, who said, I will not bow the knee, I will not sacrifice my life, they're the ones still breathing. So what do you do with that, folks? Do facts lie? Facts are not emotional. Facts don't care about your feelings. Do your research, you know?
You know,
Oh my gosh.
I believe also that politics is a cyclical thing.
Yeah.
Cyclical meaning the pendulum swings from one side to the other every few years. And I think that the pendulum is racing back to the right, back to I don't want to say the Republicans, because Republicans also have their problems. But I'm saying
Yeah, they do.
the pendulum is swinging back in the direction of the people, and I think also swinging back in the direction of the godly American people and the Christianity. Here I'm a Jew saying the Christianity that made America great, and we have to.
We're not given the right to pass here. We're going to be evenly truthful with the right. Why aren't Republicans using the powers they have to attempt to bring people to justice? Why do you think? I have my own ideas. Why aren't they using the power they have? Why are they
Well,
not doing to Biden what
in
was done to Trump?
Israel, we've spoken about it, that the whole judicial system in Israel is controlled by the socialists. And if you remember, before the attack from Gaza, we had some very, very bad months of very violent demonstrations in the streets, paid for by Soros and by the United States government to overthrow Netanyahu and not allow for any kind of judicial reform. They call it judicial dictatorship. No, judicial reform. Majority rules. Democracy.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know exactly when we will see this happening, because it seems Gaza will take a few more months, and then Hezbollah in Lebanon will have to be dealt with probably around September 1st. And they're telling people not to plan on sending their kids to school, those who live in the northern border areas, until January. In other words, the war with Hezbollah will stretch out to January. And you know what? After Hezbollah, we have Iran, because Iran already has nuclear weapons. So
I did want to get your take in our last few minutes on this broadcast too.
Right. They have nuclear
about
weapons, but they want the whole arsenal of nuclear weapons, so that if one missile misses, the others will hit. And so Israel also is preparing itself for the interception of these nuclear missiles coming in from Iran. So these are all things that are happening right now.
just as it was prophesied that Ishmael will be a jackass of a man, his brothers will always be at war with one another.
Right.
And here we are, folks. In the past, there's only been one way that a country has overthrown communism, and I don't know that America is any different. I know that the globalists want a civil war so they can bring in their blue helmets.
Right.
But I think they forgot to disarm the American people before trying to do that. And
Yeah.
so, there's nothing more fierce than a man protecting his family. And it doesn't require a whole lot of coordination. The enemy is very easy to spot these days, folks. And we need a revolution of the heart more than anything. But we also need those who are leaders to be righteous leaders. I'm reminded of a Babylonian legend that a corrupt judge was executed, skinned, and his hide was tanned and covered the judge bench for the next judge, so that every time that judge would sit down to preside over cases, he was he was strongly encouraged to judge rightly and to not accept bribes. Sometimes it takes harsh measures to enforce righteousness. I pray it doesn't require that in this country.
Amen.
But as time goes on, as people awaken to the fact they've been lied to about just about everything, and that their leaders are not their friends. They are not for them. They actually subscribe to a philosophy of only 500 million people on the earth. Yeah, that's come out of the mouth of a lot of political leaders, all leftists for the most part. And we did have a Republican presidential candidate that's a globalist, but he's no longer in the picture. And so, what do? Well, you pray and you support those who support Israel, our only ally in the Middle East. People want to complain about these children that have no idea what they're protesting, as their parents have worked so hard to send them to Marxist centers. Used to be Bible colleges. Now they're Ivy League Marxist centers. But who is holding the professors accountable? I personally would like to know every communist professor in America. I'd like to personally know. And I think that we need to spread the word of who is for this country and who isn't. And so, again, reminded of the judges of old in the story of Israel. There are those who consider America to be Israel, and that's silly. But we can definitely learn from lessons. I don't know about you, Avi, but I want to learn from my own mistakes. Thank you very much. But I'm always reminded of that cycle that Israel had gone through in the book of Judges. The sin, idolatry led to slavery, led to sorrow, finally supplication, and then God would send a judge, a deliverer, salvation. But pretty soon, well, within this cycle, some way, somehow, the bad players, the bad apples have grouped together in the governments of the countries of this world. And these are the days we read about. But we need new righteous leaders as well. We need people to act locally as well. In America, Avi, your local politicians can actually defy the orders of the president. And yet we have a whole lot of people who like to preach about getting involved in your local leadership. But when you ask them what they're running for, you hear crickets. I don't know what it's like in Israel. Are citizens able to attempt to run for local leadership as well? I know that you've had a challenge with the Bible Block Party on the national stage, the big scene, so to speak. But what can local Israelis do in terms of trying to occupy places of leadership locally as well? I mean, what is that? Is that a mechanism that's in place, or
The
is it?
mechanism, the mechanism is through the existing political parties. In other words, if you join the Likud and say, "Hey, I want to be mayor of a certain town, or I want to be a certain area," and then the Likud puts you there, or some other political party, and but it's not easy. This is a small country, and it's like shooting at fish in a barrel. This is not like America, which is so large that you can run for office in any county or anywhere in the United States. You might not win, but you can run. Here in Israel, it's very, very tight.
Well, Avi, we are very grateful for you. I'm glad that you're doing well, and our prayers are
Amen.
with
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. I may be in the States in June.
Well, I want to know, and I really want to know. I'm looking forward to seeing you one way or another. Folks, it's been As Goes Israel, So Goes the World, live from Israel with Avi Lipkin. We're going to see you next time. Thank you for joining me early this time, Avi. God bless you, my friend.
Bless you.
All right.